Abra are now under modified enhanced community quarantine. NCR mayors have also revised the unified curfew hours in the metro. Starting today, curfew hours in the region will be at 8 p.m. to 5 a.m. for the rest of the month.
Malacanang announced the guidelines for Modified Enhanced Community Quarantine or MECQ on the first day of its implementation across the NCR Plus. Movement is limited to those accessing essential goods and services, those working on-site in permitted industries, and airports or authorized persons outside of residence.
Government has lifted the strict lockdown and shifted to a looser quarantine for Metro Manila and other areas under the NCR Plus bubble. But what are the clear plans as COVID-19 cases are still rising? We discuss in this episode of The Chiefs. Welcome to this special edition of The Chiefs. Also with me is Luchi Cruz Valdez of News 5 and Ed Lingao of One News, both joining us online. Bok,
Hello,
LCV,
Robbie.
welcome.
Hello, Ed.
Welcome, and try not to ask any unchristian questions.
Mean.
You mean that,
What's an unchristian question?
where is that?
About the pubs?
Huh?
What?
Ano,
What?
It's
is that a serious question, or have you
we're
seriously not been on social media?
Yeah, seriously, what's that?
Harry Roque.
Harry Roque.
Harry Roque was asked at the press briefing how he got his room in PGH, if he could explain how he had access to a room in PGH, and his reply
Mabang pila.
was basically, that's an unchristian. I think that's a very unchristian question, and he basically dodged the question.
What's so unchristian about it, though?
Yeah, exactly. Right, and
Well, there you go.
and then, tsaka, not only that, they call it whatever you want, but people can ask as taxpayers, di ba? He's a public official dealing in a public emergency, and we're talking about a public hospital in this particular case. So anyway, he was the topic of the day all over social media and in the news. And yan. But other than that, ano pa mga balita, Bok, na natabunan itong unchristian topic?
Well, you have the HPAC, the Health Professionals Alliance Against COVID-19, saying that we just about wasted 2 weeks of the ECQ without putting in the proper systems in place. For example, number one nilang pinuna yung One Hospital Command Center. It is not yet set up properly pa rin.
And at the same time, people are still expressing concerns about contact tracing. In fact, our ratio it's almost like inversely proportional. Nung mababa ang numbers, madaming contact tracer, ngayong dumami at nag-surge, we're practically down at practically a third of our contact tracers.
Good example lang dyan is Metro Manila. The ideal ratio according to WHO is one contact tracer for every 800 people in a population. In Metro Manila with 13 million people, you have 9,000 contact tracers. That's a ratio of one contact tracer for every 1,500 people, almost. So, halos doble.
Anyway, alam mo, suggestion, pasok na natin yung guest natin because what we really want to understand is what does all of this mean on the ground. We have with us Taguig City Mayor Lino Cayetano. Mayor Cayetano, welcome to the Chiefs.
Magandang gabi po, Sir
Good
Robbie.
Evening, Mayor.
Sir Ed, Ma'am Luchi, magandang gabi po sa inyong lahat.
Mayor, why don't you just jump into this conversation? I mean, how do you feel about the past 2 weeks? Did we progress? Did we move forward? Did anything change other than the status from ECQ to MECQ?
Well, total, tayo lang naman nag-uusap.
Tayong apat lang.
It's painful to admit in a way that tama yung mga kaibigan natin sa HPAC, no? Si Dr. Dance is someone na for a long time I've talked to. Even before the pandemic, he's been helping us lay the groundwork for universal healthcare that really begins with the barangay health center. So medyo malawak yung perspektibo ng organisasyon nila. And it's something also na pinag-uusapan din naman naming mga mayors palagi. The purpose of a lockdown is not simply to prevent transmission. It is to raise the capability not just of our healthcare system, but of all of society. Kaya po tayo nagla-lockdown, dagdagan ng kama, dagdagan ng doktor. Pero hindi lang yon. Habang nagla-lockdown, paano na ba nagtatransaksyon ang gobyerno? May binago ba tayo? Habang nagla-lockdown, tinetrain ba natin yung mga restaurants? Tinetrain natin yung mga pabrika? Nagdagdag ba tayo ng mga contact tracers tulad ng sinabi nyo? Nagdagdag tayo ng kapasidad para mag-test? Recently, testing has become a buzzword again, di ba? 6 na buwan nating nakalimutan, tapos suddenly, now we're talking about testing again. Something na we're proud. There's marami kaming pagkukulang pa rin. Marami pa kaming kailangan gawin. But in Taguig, something we're proud of is within the first 3 months, we brought testing down to the health center. So we have 28 barangays in Taguig, 31 health centers. All 30 health centers does COVID testing twice a week. So each health center does testing twice a week. So any time of the, kahit anong oras, pupunta ka lang sa health center mo, mas-schedule ka. Aside from that, we have 2 drive-thrus, and up to now, it's the only government drive-thru testing facility. Then we added, again, 2 weeks ago lang, park and drive naman. We took over 1 whole parking lot sa isang mall na hindi na nagagamit dahil sarado yung mall. You can park your car and you can test. So in Taguig, it's not 1 facility, 2 facilities. There are 33 facilities that conducts free government testing. And as of today, 135,000 free PCR tests na yung nagawa namin. So isang aspeto lang yan na habang nag-lockdown, hinanda. Ngayon, we're scrambling because habang naka-ECQ at alam na namin, parating na tong MECQ at dumating na nga, anong na-accomplish natin? Hindi pwedeng tumigil lang. So that's what my team's been busy with. On the ground, ramdam namin lahat talaga ng problema. No? Everything you see on the papers, you see on the news. At ngayon, nagkasabay-sabay. No? Apat yung nakikita ko. Ayuda, no? Yung pagbaba ng financial assistance. It's a blessing, but at the same time, the challenges are real on the ground. Pangalawa ho, yung relief. Na we're also giving food relief packs because it's been really hard for people to go out and to work. Vaccination. We need to continue to increase capacity for vaccination. Although mahina pa ang supply, we're still getting used to vaccinating, no? Na ganito karaming tao, na ganito kabilis na panahon. And then pang-apat is really yung pagdagdag ng mga hospital beds. Huling-huli, no? I just wanted, because na-mention ko lang yung vaccination, medyo sentimental ako today because I just found out na ang nabakunahan po namin, we hit, let me pull up, no? We hit 16,400, no? And mababa pa yung numero na yon. That's so small. That's 1.6 is to 100 kasi 1 million kami sa Taguig. So 16,400. But significant kasi when I look at our number of cases in Taguig since the beginning of the pandemic, and we're case number 4 in Taguig, 16,500. So tinext ko yung mga top doctors ko. Sabi ko, bukas napaka-significant because we're vaccinating more than we've gotten infected. And it's important to celebrate small victories. No? We've bugbog na tayo sa dami ng mga challenges. But I think we should celebrate small victories. Nahuli tayo, but I think the rollout was quick. No? Once bumaba yung bakuna, etong March, naging mabilis yung pag-rollout. So tomorrow, Taguig will be 16,567 na nagkaroon ng COVID, and it will be around 17,000 na nabakunahan. So to me, that's a small victory that we can build on in the coming weeks and in the coming months.
Kumusta ho ba ang vaccine acceptance sa Taguig? Are you also encountering yung hesitancy that many other LGUs are experiencing?
Yes, ma'am. I think it's in the beginning it was a big problem, but akala namin bubuhos yung mga bakuna. So in the beginning, lahat ho kami ang pinag-uusapan namin, how many jobs can you do in a day? Sabi namin 10,000, yung iba 12,000, yung iba 15,000. Ang worry ng mga doktor, do we have enough people who want to be jobbed? So, nung simula,
Yes.
vaccine hesitancy was really a big problem. In a way, it still is now. Kaya lang, ang bagal ng supply. So dahil mabagal ang supply, the demand still exceeds the supply. Mabagal pa rin yung pasok ng mga bakuna. So it gives us time na magkaroon ng ground team. Ang isang nakikita kong problema, ma'am, those who belong to the higher salary brackets, no, gusto magpabakuna. Yung dito sa ground, ang mga kasamahan ho natin sa palengke, driver ng jeep, driver ng tricycle, yung mga magsasaka namin, mga mangingisda, na mga seniors tsaka may comorbidities, talagang the health centers go on the ground trying to convince them. Kasi in Taguig, you apply through an app
Yes.
or a website. Marami hong nag-a-apply, pero napansin ho namin, it's also directly proportional in a way, no, to yung income bracket nito. So we're very conscious of that. So in the ground, the health center is playing an active role. Ine-enroll ho namin physically, kinakatok, pinupuntahan yung aming mga TODA, JODA, mga trabahador, mga magsasaka, because dun malakas yung vaccine hesitancy. So when you say vaccine hesitancy, you really need to also look at the social brackets because it's connected. At yun yung nakikita kong kailangan trabahuhin.
Yeah, so how far away are you from achieving yung herd immunity, at least in Taguig, di ba? Considering that I'm sure a majority of those who refuse to be vaccinated will come from that income class.
Honestly, ma'am, we're a long way. But it's also because barado pa yung supply. Pero pag kami nag-uusap kami pati nila Sec Charlie, nila Sec Vince, and we have a very good relationship with the mayors. One thing we're talking about is, kasi sa Taguig, 800,000 yung gusto naming bakunahan. So napakaliit na fraction yung 15,000.
Yes.
But when you talk about small victories, I think that's important kasi malulula tayo sa dami ng kailangan gawin. So number one, have you vaccinated all your A1, your medical health frontliners? Kung nabakunahan na natin lahat ng mga hospital, health centers, emergency care units, then our healthcare workers are protected. Then hindi aapaw, magkukulang yung ratio pag maraming nagkasakit na doktor o na nurse. So we've done that. I think a lot of cities have done that. Sa amin, we're at around 93%. And we're continuing to call kasi I think we missed some of the doctors and the nurses who are not in medical institutions but who are attached to private companies. So yun yung sinusuyod namin. Yung next small victory, ma'am, kasi everyone talks about herd immunity. Pero yun nga, sa ground, nakikita namin, there are little steps that we need to focus on. So pangalawa po, senior citizens. No? 60% of those who are hospitalized are senior citizens or those with comorbidities. So ang tingin namin na sa mga 80 to 90,000 kami sa Taguig. So 3,000 pa lang kami ngayon. So yun yung next
Layo
na
pa,
ano
oo.
namin, malayo
Yeah.
pa. Yung may comorbidity, usually you look at 1% of your population. So 1 million po kami sa Taguig. So we're looking at 10,000. Pero medyo malawak yung category ng comorbidity for COVID. So if we double that, 20,000. Nakaka 4,000 pa lang kami ngayon. So, but we think, before we think of herd immunity, A1, A2, A3. Let's focus on that. Kasi yan yung babagsak yung hospitalization rate, yung healthcare utilization rate natin. And if you look around the world, maraming bansa ang mataas ang active cases, pero kaya ng mga ospital nila. Wala masyadong namamatay.
Yun nga, yung
walang
kakayanan nyo rin ang dapat to.
That's where HPAC, I think, is correct.
Yeah.
We should be working on that. We should have worked on that since last year.
Mayor, I want to precisely pick up on that. You actually said two things. No, you said we should have, and we could be working on that. One regrets missed opportunities. One tries to look forward. No, but where are we? And in your case, for example, at your level, what are you doing to try to mitigate, shore up, and expand the medical capacity, notwithstanding the rising number the rising numbers of cases? And where do you think national government can provide some direction and some resources and help?
Well, una, Rabi, is we should have, we could have. Something that we learned over the last 15 months is it's never too late. Akala namin, late na, September na, hindi na natin kailangan gumawa ng quarantine facilities. Marami ng ibang gumawa. Let's look at the next thing. Hindi pala, kasi may next surge pala. Ngayon, we're looking at how we're preparing for our vaccination. And minsan, we're caught up with the short term. Okay na yan, pwede na yan. But then we realize, teka, 15,000 pa lang yung nababakunahan. May 800,000 pa nababakunahan. So if we need to do things better, it's never too late. We need to keep moving. So yun yung isa, no? It's never too late. We should have built a COVID hospital last year. Panayang paikot na mga picture na sa China raw may COVID hospital. At some point, we gave up. Sabi natin, okay na yun. Anong ginagawa natin ngayon? Magbibuild rin pala ng COVID hospital. So, one, it's never too late. Pero pangalawa, kami ho sa local level and consistently naman po, Taguig has been really one of the lowest active cases in Metro Manila. If you see that map that the UP statisticians did, no, that white area in the middle, it's like a hand yung Metro Manila sa may Laguna Bay, that's Taguig. Kasi significantly lower talaga yung mga cases in Taguig. But we are affected because it's a one ecosystem yung Metro Manila. So sa hospitalization po kunyari, you're asking what we did. The national government through the DOH asked all public hospitals to set aside 30% of beds. Ngayon ginawa nilang 50. But initially, di ba po, they asked 30%.
Yes.
So yung munti naming public hospital, ano lang yan, level 1 hospital, 120 beds. We made another 100 beds. So 220 na kami ngayon. So hindi 30% yung ginawa namin, 100%. And it was so difficult. Kaya ngayon, sumasama yung loob ko kapag naririnig ko may mga large tertiary DOH hospitals na nasa 10 at 20% pa rin. And I have a list of it Kasi minomonitor
Meron pang
ko rin.
ganon?
Marami,
Akala ba namin sa mga balita puno na lahat at talagang pila-pila na. So,
ito ma'am yung puno po sila. Pero ang tanong, did they allot 30% of their capacity for COVID? And I don't blame the hospitals. In fact, I blame us, the policymakers, for not creating that environment for the hospitals to be able to convert enough beds, get enough nurses, and get enough doctors. So kunyari po, name any hospital, tingnan nyo po anong bed capacity nila. 1,000 kunyari. Automatic, 300 should be COVID if you're gonna follow the DOH memo.
yes.
If you check how many beds that hospital has, and you can just Google it, tingnan nyo po kung ano mang ospital, makikita nyo po, significantly, always lower. So napakahirap po kasi we're demanding of the private hospitals that they also follow that. Mas mababa lang yung hihingi natin sa private hospitals. Pero yung public hospitals, hindi natin nagawa lahat yon. And I don't blame the public hospitals. Ngayon nga, recently, we found out, di ba, malaki pa ang utang ng PhilHealth, etc. So they have their own challenges. But yung experience ho namin sa Taguig, yun nga po, 120-bed hospital po kami. Level 1. We made another 100 beds. So never po kami napuno until now. Yun ngayon po,
yung
puno.
Yung DOH data po today, DOH data po ito, DOH data today, ang NCR hospitals 86% pa lang yung ICU occupancy. So may 14% pa. Yung isolation beds nasa 69% pa lang ang occupancy. So may 31% pa. And so on the line, yung ward beds 57%, so may 43% pa. So technically may
Meron
spasyo.
pa, pwede pa.
I'm happy with that report today, Sir Ed, no? But I think the reality on the ground, and you feel it, and we all feel it, because it's when our friends message us,
yan
when
nga
our
po
constituents message us. At sa totoo lang, ramdam natin itong huling 2 linggo, di ba po? Saan ba nakakabili ng oxygen? Saan pa ba may libre at bakanting mga ospital? So it's not that I don't believe our dashboards, no? But sometimes it takes a day or two to catch up to reality. But things are getting better, and it is precisely because the last 2 weeks, and I saw Secretary Duque, Sec Vince Dizon, Secretary Charlie, very active when it comes to demanding of us, the LGUs, and I think also, I'm not privy to their talks with the private and the public hospitals, pero yun ho yung ginawa. Kung tinatanong niyo ho anong ginawa nung the last 2 weeks, kami, I was just there today, we're converting one of our facilities into a 43-bed, mild to moderate quarantine facility para mabawasan yung nasa ospital. Mahirap po kasi parang,
Pero as far as systems are concerned, kasi of course having physical beds is one thing, but having the systems in place so as to to put the right people in the right places, the right facilities is another. For that particular case, you're looking at systems, yung one hospital command system.
Right.
Is it working already? Kasi last year pa ho napag-uusapan yung one hospital command center na yan, pati yung Oplan Kalinga, July, August last year pa, hindi na ayos-ayos until last week nagpanic na sila. Ang tanong ngayon, naayos na ba?
I think,
by the time
Sir Ed,
nag-MECQ tayo?
No, I think you hit, you're right on when you're saying, bakit sa papel merong mga kama, pero pag naghahanap tayong ospital, wala. And I think you're right, no? There's a long way no to improve yung one hospital policy. In fact, a lot of us, tulad ho sa amin sa Taguig, parang ano na lang kami, no? A lot of times, and I told DOH this, no? So I wouldn't mind telling you and everyone as well. Kung tatawag kami sa one hospital policy, dahil kailangan na ng hospital ng mga kababayan namin, and it takes 1 day, 2 days, or 3 days, idediretso ko na siya sa ospital. So when they talk to us candidly about having a one hospital policy, and if the LGUs can help in declogging the big hospitals by having triage in the LGU, sabi ko okay. Pero pag triage mo sa LGU, are we guaranteed beds ba? So it's a little bit more complicated because ang nagiging problema ho, kung ang isang kapitbahay ko, kababayan ko, if he goes straight to East Avenue, if he goes straight to PGH, if he goes straight to one of the other St. Luke's or one other hospital, kung mas mabilis pa siya makakuha kung pipila siya doon kaysa dumaan sa one hospital policy, bale wala. And yun yung nakikita naming problema.
Mayor, then what do you tell and how is your conversation with Secretary Galvez, with Vince Dizon? You want to give them credit and they're very hard workers. But at the same time, when we talk to mayors, you really get the sense that look, we're doing everything we can. We're innovating at our level. We're thinking out of the box. We're getting our own resources. But the weakness always seems to be even allowing for hard-working officials like Vince Dizon and Secretary Galvez. It's very clear to people that the weakness is on the national level, that this is not getting coordinated. Notwithstanding a 2-week break, nothing improved in the system. So what is your conversation with the hard workers, notwithstanding your own view as well, that sa national level, there's something missing in how we work together?
That's true in a way, Robbie, no? But just to give some perspective, I'm sure I talk this way because I'm talking about the national government. Pag kausap mo yung barangay captain ko, sasabihin din niya, alam mo yung city kung inayos lang nila yung referral system nila mula sa health center papunta sa ospital. So I think it's just that nakikita namin on our end san yung bara, no? And that's why we're pointing at the national government in some instances. But we also really feel that it takes such a massive, we need such a massive scale of cooperation to really get things done. And to begin with, our healthcare system wasn't ready. I think that's the biggest problem pagdating dito po sa healthcare utilization. And that's what sina Dr. Dance and HPAC has been saying. In fairness to them, no, it's been years when they've been trying to advocate, including PhilHealth. Kailan ho ba natin huling pinag-usapan yung PhilHealth? Ngayon, na-bring up ulit kasi maraming mga private hospitals hindi maka-expand, hindi mabayaran yung doktor. So we talk about PhilHealth. When was the last time? Hindi mabayaran ang Red Cross dahil sa testing, pinag-usapan yung PhilHealth. But honestly, we were talking about PhilHealth before the pandemic, pero hindi natuluyan, no? Hindi na-resolve yung mga problema. So I think to begin with, what's happening now shows really the decades, no, nung problema natin sa healthcare system natin. And ako, yung silver lining, if we get this done, if we fix this will lay the groundwork for universal healthcare. Kasi sa universal healthcare, it's really about referral eh. Pag pumunta kang health center, mare-refer ka sa tertiary hospital. I know that's a different topic, no? Pero to answer lang how we've been working and how I can complement the hardworking members of the Joint Task Force of the IATF habang ang dami pa ring problema, I think we were exposed eh. Ang dami pa nating problema, no? That is why
but
right
Mayor,
now, if you go ahead, Robbie.
No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry to interrupt, but only because we might run out of time. But everybody grants that. Everybody assumes it's complicated. But everybody listening in will now just be thinking, but that's the same for every single country and every single society. And objectively, we can say that many societies, even within our own neighborhood, did a better job of putting in place the systems of responding quickly and properly. If you compare how far their systems have evolved in the short time that we had as well.
Yeah. Totoo yun, no? I wish I had a better answer. But if you look at our active case rate, and I'm not making excuses, no? Ang dami pa nating pagkukulang. We need to work harder. We need to work together. We need to have strengthened our relationships with the national government agencies. But if you look at our active case rate, we are almost the same as Turkey, as Germany. But because sophisticated na yung healthcare system nila, nakakapagbukas sila, na sasagot nila. But on the other hand, you have these arguments naman na bago pa dumating ang bakuna sa Vietnam, sa Australia, sa Singapore, sa Hong Kong, wala pang bakuna, nababa na nila yung kaso nila sa 1, 2, 3, 4 na we should have been able to do. So I don't know the answer. I don't know if yung pagkawawatak-watak natin no, ngayon naging weakness natin.
Ito na nga, Mayor. Ang tanong ko na lang, last na lang, ay ngayon MECQ na. Do you think we're ready for this? Do you think this was the right decision today to go MECQ?
I'm usually very outspoken in the Metro Manila's group when it comes to how I feel about quarantine classifications. But this time, I told them I will defer to the ATF because I don't know the hospital utilization rate. I see the dashboards, but I also see yung mga kababayan ko pumipila, hindi makapagpagamot, hindi maka-check-in sa ospital. So sabi ko, until that is fixed, I don't know how we can downgrade our quarantine classification. So I'm hoping and I'm praying and I trust na kaya natin binaba kasi marami na talagang nagbukas na critical emergency care units and hospital beds. So I'm hoping and we'll see in the next few days, we'll see in the next few weeks.
I hope you're right.
We'll pray.
Okay. Taguig City Mayor Lino Cayetano, maraming salamat, Mayor.
Thank you so much.
Salamat,
Thank you so much.
Mayor.
Hope you're all well and safe. Thank you.
Stay safe
You
po.
too.
And we need to take a break. Please stay with us. The Chiefs will be right back. Welcome back, the Chiefs, here on One News. And we continue our conversation. Joining us is Vaccine Expert Panel Head Dr. Nina Gloriani. Dr. Gloriani, welcome po.
Good evening
Good
po sa
evening.
inyong lahat.
Good evening, ma'am.
Magandang gabi po, Dr. Gloriani. Ang sigla-sigla ninyo, Doc, ha?
Nakailang meeting na ako gising pa ako.
Oo, ang galing,
Ang
ha?
liwanag sa inyo.
Oo nga.
Ang liwanag sa inyo.
Hindi, marami akong ilaw. Kunwari nasa studio ako.
Yeah.
Ay, naka-chroma kayo, no?
May PI, kaya.
Naka-green screen kayo, no?
Ay, hindi ko alam yun. Talagang marami akong ilaw.
Okay. Anyway, ma'am, we have a lot of questions for you, starting with maybe an update on AstraZeneca. I mean, last week, new guidelines, new directives na medyo daw muna tayo sa AstraZeneca, particularly for people below 60. Has there been any update on that?
Well, actually, siguro umpisan ko lang muna. This is only a precautionary measure. Kasi yan talaga ang role naman ng regulatory agency kapag mayroong parang like this, this is a severe adverse event, no? So kailangan mag-pause muna ng pagbabakuna. Isinabay na rin dun sa fact na kukunti na lang din yung supply. That gives us time. So marami pong experts ngayon ang magre-recommenda kung anong dapat gawin. Of course, pinag-aralan namin. And before this, galing ako sa isang meeting na nag-present sila nung ano yung mga nangyayari sa Europe ngayon with the AstraZeneca vaccine. So all of this information, ginagather namin that will help us plan for our own vaccination deployment here. So
Doc, ano nga po ba in layman's terms sa mga salita maunawaan namin na hindi mga doktor or scientist, ano nga po ba ang nangyaring, anong nakita nilang koneksyon doon sa AstraZeneca vaccine at saka dito sa blood clotting or thrombosis kung tawagin? At mismong sila ang nagrekomenda na wag na munang paggamit sa mga below 60.
Okay. Kasi ganito, no, yung monitoring, may nagdi-report. So medyo parang dumadami. Although eventually, when i-compare mo yan doon sa general population na yung sa nangyayari kahit walang bakunahan, merong magre-report ng mga thromboembolic events. But of course, because this is a vaccine, they have to investigate it, whether or not kokonti siya kaysa doon sa natural na nangyayari. So, tinignan nila, ang kita nila, yun nga, may mga, yung blood clot na tinatawag, doon yung iba nasa brain, yung iba nasa mata, nasa heart, no? And kasabay nun, meron ding mababa ang platelet. So parang may clot, may parang pwede ring bleeding tendency. So inimbestigahan nila and maganda naman yung investigasyon and then hindi naman siya sinisiguro pa na siya ang cause. Ang term na ginamit nila ay possible link habang ipinag-aaralan pa rin anong posibleng cause nito. So meron na ring mga tao na tinignan yung kanilang mga laboratory exams, may mga antibodies yung iba sa platelet, yung ating ng blood clotting natin. Of course, tinitignan nilang mabuti ang risk factors ng mga merong ganitong thromboembolic phenomenon. Kasi yung blood clots, nakikita din sa ibang mga biological agents. Number one is yung hormone therapy, itong mga contraceptives. Matagal na naming alam yan, estudyante pa ako, no? Kasama yan sa side effect ng pag uminom ka ng hormone therapy,
Hormone
yung
replacement,
possibility na mataas yung risk mo for blood clots, yung tinatawag namin deep vein thrombosis. Ano? Of course, yung pagsigarilyo, mataas po ang ng pagsisigarilyo. No? So kaya yun yung sinasabi, titingnan, ito bang AstraZeneca na blood clots ay mas mataas dun sa mga iba o sa yung general lang na nangyayari dun sa may mga sakit sa puso. So
I think ma'am, mahalaga yung konteksto dito kasi siyempre terrible pakinggan yung brain blood clot But if you look at the numbers, 16 cases out of 200 million. I did some quick calculations. I hope I got the math right. That's 0.00008%.
Actually, yung nilabas nga nilang value, 4 per million. Mataas
nga po the comparatives you were citing kanina, for example, how does this compare to yung, for example, the use of birth control?
So birth control pills, nasa 500 to 1,000 per million. Compared sa 4.
So ang laki ng difference.
Malaki difference. Mas malaki po sa sa smoking. Kaya dapat tigilin yung smoke.
Biglang ilag ako doon.
Biglang ilag.
So, pero yun na nga. So, ano po ang naging basehan? Dahil lang sa numero? Is it because maraming na ire-report? So, itigil mo na? Yun lang ba yun?
Meron din silang tinignan na mga laboratory parameters. No? Meron kasi yung mga ibang pasyente, bakit bumababa nga yung platelet? No? May nagde-destroy sa platelet. So meron silang na-test na may mga antibodies doon sa platelet. So ngayon, yun ang tinitignan. Kung ano ba talaga ang nangyayari. Sa ngayon, hindi pa kompleto. Actually, yung kaninang meeting namin, tinanong ko yun. Ano ba yung posibleng mga nangyayari. Mechanism siya yung tinatawag namin. So, pinag-aaralang mabuti naman. Maraming parang magiging offshoot na research para maintindihan. At hindi pa po kompleto yung mga detalye ng mga bawat pasyente. Looking at around 200 people
Okay.
na inaaral nila isa-isa.
Ma'am, if you don't mind, ma'am, just to wrap up that part po, para po in layman's terms po tayo. So what you're saying basically is that you have a bigger chance of getting brain blood clots from smoking or taking birth control pills than you can from taking AstraZeneca?
Yes.
Is that
Yes,
is that
that
correct?
is what I'm trying to say.
Sinisiguro lang ni Ed.
Tama yun, tama po yun. Hindi, saka ang COVID itself, mayroong thromboembolic phenomenon. Nandun yan yung sa dulo na nagsisipot ng COVID.
yes.
Okay.
Even than sa smoking.
Okay.
So
Then,
Pero
you're
ano
more
pong
ma'am,
likely to get
ibig
brain blood clots
sabihin
from COVID
nito?
than from the vaccine. So
Oh,
you
pero
might as well
ano
take the
pong
vaccine.
ibig sabihin nito doon sa mga nakapag bakuna na ng AstraZeneca para lang
Okay.
mapalagay ang loob nila
Well, thankfully, sa atin sa Pilipinas, wala pa tayong nare-report na ganyan. Kasi meron tayo nung NAFIC, yung National Adverse Event Following Immunization Committee. So pumapasok po lahat dyan, nire-report ng mga na-vaccinate. Wala pa po. So tinitingnan mabuti yan, kaya nga kasama din sila doon sa magre-recommenda eventually sa FDA what to do. So yung naka-first dose, kung wala silang naging reaction, ang usually tinitignan time frame dyan is yung first 14 to 21 days. Actually, kung kailan dumadami yung ganong reports ay mga 5 or 6 day after the first vaccination. So wala pa masyadong data sa second vaccination, but they think na it's really following the first vaccination. So yun, babantayan na lang po. So kung wala silang naging reaction do sa first dose, pwede silang makakuha ng second dose.
safe na.
Well,
Parang
of
ganun.
course, lahat naman, hindi mo monitor
Yeah.
pa rin, ha? Saka syempre, mas maano tayo ngayon, yung dapat kasi din, yung pong mga nababakunahan, at yung nagbabakuna, nakakausap mabuti yung mga binabakunahan. Anong babantayan mo? Saka magre-report ka, hindi ka magre-report pag medyo grabe na.
Oh.
So yung pong hindi pa nakaka-first dose, yung po yung defer muna dahil yung less than 60 years old. Kasi doon nakita yung naggawa sila ng modeling din ng mga risk-benefit na pag ganito ang exposure mo, mataas ang COVID sa isang lugar, binigyan ka ng bakuna, ano ang risk ng thromboembolic. So tinitignan nila yon. Nakita nila, mas mataas ang risk, mas mataas ang exposure, mas mataas ang risk sa less than 30 years old at less than 60. Actually, may iba-iba yun yung mga modeling na yan. Pero yun yung naging basehan nila. Kaya pinatigil muna doon sa younger. Ngayon, doon sa mga older, mataas ang benefit ratio than the risk. Kunwari, ang benefit niya ay 200 versus ang risk niya ay 1. Doon naman sa kabila, yung baliktad. Oo.
Okay. Doktora, from AstraZeneca, move naman tayo to candidate number 2. Sinovac naman tayo. And what do we now understand about Sinovac? And obviously, bumulusok na naman yung mga balita na parang mababa raw ang efficacy rate ng Sinovac.
Hindi, galing China pa. China pa ang umamin.
Diba?
So, medyo...
What do we know now about Sinovac and what do we need to qualify about what people could be seeing right now?
Ako ay ayoko naman, din man ako anti-Chinese or anything. Pero nadismaya ako na head pa ng CDC ng China ang nagsabi nun. At ganito ang kanyang sinite na efficacy ng Sinovac nila ay 50.6, yun sa Brazil is
Sa Brazil, for medical health workers.
Niya sa Pfizer na 95%. America, of course, we know that, no? Now, what we have been trying to communicate, kasi inaral naman po namin yung technical data nito, Brazil study, Istanbul o Turkey, at saka yung isa Indonesia. Doon sa Brazil study, 100% ng kanilang participants sa clinical trial ay healthcare workers in direct contact with COVID patients.
Right.
So ano po
Yes.
ang magiging tingin ninyo doon? Ang taas ng exposure sa COVID. So baski bigyan mo ng bakuna, you don't expect a very high efficacy. Okay. But that is for the 18 to 69 years old. 18 to 59, sorry. So medyo kulang yung data nila sa elderly. Pero yung safety features nito, let us assume na efficacy nga ay totoo, but this is healthcare workers, no? Ikumpara ko muna po sa Pfizer. Ang Pfizer, bago yung Pfizer, yung Sinovac, nung ginagawa yung sa Brazil, ay mataas ang kaso ng mga COVID. At ang aming tingin, nag-uumpisa na noon yung kanilang variant, yung kanilang Brazil variant.
Yes. Brazil.
So we were trying to explain. Of course, hindi pa namin nakikita yung talagang. But we were looking at that. Versus yung sa Pfizer and Moderna. Kasi mas mabilis pong gumawa ng bakuna na messenger RNA. Sinisynthesize yun.
Yes.
Tapos ilalagay lang doon sa parang lipid nanoparticle. Kaya mas mabilis silang nakapag-roll out o nakapag-clinical trial. So nang nag-trial sila, mas konti yung cases at wala pang umiikot na variants. Kasi subsequently, yung mga iba, yung mga Novavax, Janssen, yung mga ibang medyo nahuli kasi mas mahirap yung platform nila, na-meet na nila yung variants kaya mababa na ang kanilang efficacy. So meron pong konteksto. So yun yung sinasabi ko. Kaya
At ngayon nga po, yung Pfizer nga, sinasabi na na medyo nakakalusot daw ang South African variant sa Pfizer vaccine.
Kaya nga yun ang konteksto. Kailangan makita namin yung lahat ng data. Ito ba ay tines sa tatlo po yung variants of concern? UK, Brazil, saka yung South Africa. So, tinitignan po namin yung data na yon. Nakakalungkot yung China na announcement.
Actually, Doc, I was wondering if there was something lost in the translation. Kasi even the Reuters report that is heavily quoted was citing the 50.6% of the Brazil clinical study without the nuancing that it's completely for medical health workers.
Yes.
Comparing it to Pfizer, which is apples and oranges.
No, not only that, you will remember, parang it seemed like an old story. Because we went, parang yun nga yung yun nga di ba? Parang bumalik eh. And they were picking up the same
In-explain na po namin mabuti. Saka it still passed the WHO threshold na 50.
Right, of 50. Right. So,
nakakagulit yung Chinese. Baka nga loss in translation. We
Kaya
did not benefit of the doubt.
Okay.
But it's really weird that he was sounding, like sounding an alarm now. No?
Hindi sa ina-endorse ko yan. No? But I'm talking from the point of view na in-evaluate namin yan isa-isa. Tapos, mayroon pong mga bagong data din, yun naman sa kanyang immunogenicity, yung mga antibodies. So, nyari, medyo kulang yung elderly population na nag-compute ng vaccine efficacy. Mayroon naman silang immunogenicity data that will show us na mayroon silang antibody. May seroconversion. Nyari, lang antibody nung bago bakunahan, nagkaroon ng antibody after, nasa 98 to 100%. Hindi naman po nalalayo yung younger at yung older age group. Tapos ito po mga neutralizing antibodies na tinatawag natin, na siyang yung kumakabit doon sa virus na gusto nating klase ng antibodies. So, yung efficacy na calculation, medyo may problema po yung mababa ang sample size. Pero it does not mean hindi siya po pwede.
Now, Doctora, a question lang about one story today. Kasi Okta Research was noting a slight uptick in the fatality rate from 1.8%, now it's around 2%. A question lang po, do you feel that that's attributable to the new variants, or is it a reflection of how stretched our public health systems are?
You mean po yung mortality sa COVID cases?
Yes, apa.
Yung variant po so far, konti ang data to show na it can cause more severe form. Ang mas sa kanya ay higher transmissibility po. But of course, in very, yung may mga patients na vulnerable na sobrang maraming comorbidity,
Comorbidity, yeah.
na hindi masyadong stable, kahit yan hindi masyadong yung higher mortality, kasi yung mismong vulnerability ng pasyente will contribute to the statistics. Plus, of course, siguro yung healthcare system din may konting problema rin po.
So, hindi dapat mangamba rin doon. Pero Doc, marami pa rin mga tanong surrounding vaccines, no? Their safety and their efficacy. Ano po ba ang dapat talagang malaman ng sino mang magpapabakuna, lalo na kung hindi naman nila alam nga kung sila ba ay may comorbidity, kasi ang dami pong mga ganun nagpupunta ron at doon lang nalalaman na high blood pala sila or hypertensive pala sila. I mean, what kind of preparations or knowledge should people have before they submit themselves to vaccination?
Actually, itong vaccination program sa COVID brought out many issues and problems. So yan nga yung sinasabi nyo na talagang ang daming tao hindi alam na may sakit sila. Hindi nila alam mataas ang BP nila. Sana yung BP nila sa mataas na level, wala na silang symptoms until magpakuha ng BP. Or yung may mga sugar din, ganito, no?
Yes,
so the pre-screening is very important. So meron tayong ganon. So hopefully, mapipick up sa medical history, mga kung wala man silang gamot. Tapos itetest din sila at the vaccination site, kukuha sila ng BP. Now, nandun din ako sa isang meeting nung minsan naman, cardiologist ang kasama namin. Ina-explain niya na yung increase in BP ay iba sa hypertensive. Kasi may definition sila. Yung may hypertension talaga, hypertensive ang tawag doon. Meron po silang parameters doon na matagal nang mataas yung BP, yung gano'n. Meron. So, yung parang ngayon lang tumaas ang BP dahil siguro medyo anxious dahil babakunahan, maski naman sino. Kailangan pong i-differentiate. So ngayon, gagawa pa nga sila ng pag-aaral, isasabay nila, baka may ma-pick up sila, maka-add sila ng data nila sa hypertension na cases, prevalence natin. So, in a way, medyo nakakalungkot yung mga pangyayari, pero it opens up yung ano pa ang pwede nating i-improve.
That's true. Yeah. Pagka naman nabakunahan na, ang tanong din ng marami ay, infectious ba sila? Yan ang mga worry nila eh. Kasi baka may antibody na sila. So baka mamaya hinahawa na nila yung mga kasamahan nila.
Parating yan ang tanong, okay. Ito pong mga bakuna na for COVID, yung available ngayon ay walang buhay na bakuna. Kaya hindi yan makakakos ng COVID. So kung nagkaroon ng COVID, usually within 14 days, remember ang incubation period ng COVID, ay around 14 days. In very rare instances, longer than that. Pero kunyari, nabakunahan ako day 1 ngayon, nagkaroon ako ng COVID symptoms on day 7, or let us say hanggang doon sa 14, hindi posibleng i-blame sa bakuna yon kasi nandun yung sa, bang-aring asymptomatic siya, hindi niya alam, pero kasi dapat sa vaccination site, wala kang symptoms. So, hindi na pick up kasi asymptomatic. Marami tayo ngayon gano'n, no? At ang bakuna ay hindi pa nakaka-elicit ng enough protection after 2 weeks from the first dose. Kailangan nyo ng second dose and 2 weeks after that pa, at the very least.
Okay.
Para meron kayong ma-feel na parang may protection.
Okay, so Doktora, ito po, lampas-lampas ito ng 2 weeks. At wala po itong politika, nagkataon lang na ito yung example naman. Supposedly, the PSG got shots a couple of months ago. Now they're saying na marami raw sa PSG nag-positive ulit. What could be going on in an example, in something like that, in an episode like that? Is it plausible, and what could be an explanation for it?
Narinig niyo ba yung Pelsman na phenomenon? Alam niyo, kung minsan yung mga tao, dahil akala nila na protektahan na sila, mas mas relax na sila or complacent. Baka ganun po yung nangyari. Kasi actually, let me tell you, ito some of the healthcare workers I know, ganyan mga bata,
Yeah.
alam niya, babakunahan siya, ayun na, kumain sa labas, yung mga ganon. Tapos, nung nabakunahan, walang symptoms. After a few days, may symptoms. O kailan niya nakuha yon? It couldn't be due to the vaccine. Nakuha pa niyo yun before. So baka po may ganong complacency.
Hindi, tsaka hindi ho ba ang vaccine naman hindi ibig sabihin na hindi ka na mahahawa.
Totoo, di ba?
Kundi hindi ka mamamatay or
critical symptoms.
Oo,
Actually, for all
yeah.
these COVID vaccines, siya ay effective more sa severe. Hindi mild and moderate pwedeng magkaroon pa rin. Kaya dapat mag-ingat pa. Kaya paulit-ulit yung sinasabi namin. Tapos kung konti pa may bakuna, talagang marami pang umiikot dyan. At we have the variants, ang dami-dami.
Tapos on the other hand naman, merong mga feeling nila pagka nagka-COVID na sila, meron na silang natural immunity. Tama po ba yun?
At may not last long. So far, ang nakikita nila ay nasa mga 5 months hanggang 6 months. Bababa na yan. Kaya nga, di ba meron tayong recommendation na yung mga nag-recover from COVID, natural COVID infection, ay pwedeng bigyan ng 1 dose at least. Kung marami-rami tayong vaccines, pwede sila mag 2 doses. Pero kasi may data to support that. Yung mga
So, isa lang.
yung zero positive, yung mga ibang bakuna na in-evaluate namin, dati na silang nagka-COVID, may antibody na konti, yung binigyan ng 1 dose, pumanik yung antibody,
I
tumaas.
see.
So that is what we want to happen to them also.
Is it wise to have antibody checks? I mean, do you recommend it or not
Sa
really?
ngayon, hindi. Magpo-focus muna tayo, but eventually magkakaroon tayo ng parang research on that. Susundan natin yung actually pag-uusapan namin with the Department of Health yan, paano mamomonitor some of the vaccines, hindi po lahat. Kasi mahirap magkuha ng blood,
Yes.
hindi naman basta mapapapayag, but there will be a subset na may sample size tayong gagawin na susundan sila for at least a year. Every 3
Yan,
months kukunan sila ng blood for duration of immunity.
Doc, nag-calculate po yung Octa Research. Ang sabi nila, baka naman hindi natin kailangan ng 70% of the entire Philippine population to be vaccinated
I
for
agree
herd
with
immunity
that.
to take place. Kasi nga po nasa Metro Manila lang po yung epicenter
Actually,
sabi na 35% ng total population ng Pilipinas ang kailangan bakunahan by their own computations so that makes sense to you.
alam mo, that is logical. Kasi actually, pag sinasabi namin herd immunity, we're talking about a specific population
Opo.
na exposed. So, if this NCR bubble, doon tayo kukuha ng 70%. Yun ang pipilitin nating abutin ang 70% as soon as possible. So, yung iba, pwedeng makawait pa yun.
So we don't really have to look at 70 million Filipinos to get herd immunity being vaccinated.
Hindi agad. Later, siguro. We do not know how the virus will travel, ha? Kasi itong mga
That's
variants na to, lakad ng lakad.
Tsaka
Pero
yung effectiveness ng bakuna kung gaano katagal. We don't know kung by
So,
next year
madami
we need
tayong
to take another shot.
i-consider. Tama kayo.
Pero anong ibig sabihin po nito? Does this mean that we will likely have to get boosters in the succeeding years? I mean, matagal na panahon.
Already, itong mga lalo yung mabilis na technology, messenger RNA, madaling i-tweak, palitan yung laman ng bakuna. They're already testing the new forms of vaccine. Ang tawag natin dyan, second generation vaccines or updated vaccines. So we foresee that for COVID, para siyang flu na taon-taon meron tayo, naiiba ang laman. Kasi
So
yung
ma'am,
flu,
every year
ganun.
meron tayong ganitong pila every year.
Oo nga, ano ba yan?
Realistically speaking, di ba? Parang every year.
Meron namang possibility ng yung iba will have long-lasting immunity. Baka hindi lahat.
Which
Siyempre,
actually, Doctor, only because we're running out of time, which brings me to my final question. What we talked about AstraZeneca, Sinovac, all-encompassing na. What's happening in the field of these other vaccines that you feel is exciting? What are some developments recently that you think, parang this makes me hopeful and optimistic?
Well, okay, of course, marami kaming ini-evaluate. Nandyan yung Janssen. Nag-apply na siya for EUA. yung Janssen, maganda din po ang data, no? Pero pinopromote niya 1 dose, pero gusto namin 2 doses. Sorry, we still have
Okay.
data.
Talaga?
Yun
Wala
yung
kayong tiwala sa one
Yun
dose
yung nakikita
yan,
namin na pinopromote.
Wait,
Kasi ang data show na pag binigyan mo ng second dose, tataas ng maganda yung antibody. So why
okay.
will we, siguro kung talagang po konti yung supplies, pwede namang isang dose muna and then we can consider a second dose later. Meron din po dadating na Bharat Biotech. So waiting po itong dalawang ito for EUA approval ng FDA.
Yung Sputnik po.
Ay, yung Sputnik aprobado na po.
Oo nga po. But how do you view it? Is it particularly exciting? Does it give you particular hope?
Nag-present po ako niyan sa DOH tong isang araw. Maganda po naman ang data nila. Ang efficacy is around 91.6%. The safety profile is also very good. Yung dose nila, dalawang klase kasi yung isa adenovirus 26, yung isa adenovirus 5. So merong, saka yung ang medyo may ano lang sa Gamaleya, sa Sputnik, yung minus 18 degrees niya, yung freezer requirements to keep the stable. The
Ma'am, pero I suppose what's significant about Sputnik is that at least last year they were offering to have a manufacturing facility in the Philippines,
Here.
which means technology transfer, I suppose.
Sana po ituloy, yes.
Okay. Vaccine Expert Panel Head, Dr. Nina Gloriani, maraming salamat po. Always a pleasure.
Thank you, Doc.
Thank you, Doc.
Salamat and good evening.
Ingat po.
Thank you po. Good night na.
And that will be all for this special edition of The Chiefs. We hope what was discussed here will keep the conversation going. Before we go, a reminder to everyone, mask on, wash hands, stay safe, Philippines. Ako po si Robbie Alampay.
Opo, si Lucy Cruz Valdez of News 5.
I'm Ed Lingao, and we are One News.